What's going on, guys? This is the Gainz podcasting featuring Antoine and
Roman Long.
And this episode is brought to you by Santa's Little Elves, Antoine and Roman. Nah, just kidding. But
Bring you Jack just in time for the new year.
you thought this was almost close to the end of the year? No, this is a new era for you getting jacked for all next year. Wanted to quick point out, Roman is also leaving again for almost like 2 weeks during this holiday season. So this is our second podcast this week, but it won't release until obviously the week after the episode 9 falls out. So wanted to say this really quickly before we begin this. Hopefully you guys have a happy holidays, great new year. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy the time spent with family. I don't know. Do you want to say anything more than that? Just want to give a quick shout out to all the people that are listening. Thank you guys for everything. Can't wait to show you guys what's going on in 2020 with the Gainz podcast and everything around it as well.
Yeah, irresponsible.
If you're, well, you can always count on Roman being the responsible adult in this room because you do what you want. Enjoy your family time, right? But no, everything's going to be great. I know I mentioned something in episode 8 about, I kind of teased something. That's still to come. I just have been Roman and I have been doing a lot of work lately, so expect that to still come.
It's going to be huge, folks.
It's going to be huge. Don't even worry about it. We're only on episode 10 here, and we still got a lot of brainstorming ideas for you guys. But this episode today is, as you probably already read from the title, since we're already in a couple minutes, is about supplementation. So in the last episode, we did talk briefly about supplements and, the whole food to supplement ratio, blah, 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 and all that good stuff. But, after the episode, I did talk to Roman right away, and I thought there was a little bit more we could discuss. Obviously, a lot of these things we briefly touch on, but there's a lot more that goes into the working out world. This is going to be a forever thing where a lot of research is coming out. There's new stuff all on the market, and supplements have been there since day one. Probably not the biggest supplements since day one, but now you're seeing so much out there. There's so much marketing with Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all this stuff. These companies are paying a lot of athletes today a lot of money to sponsor a lot of these supplements that most of the time they're probably barely using. I mean, obviously, larger people, larger athletes, they're probably using a little bit more because they have more frugal mindset, or not a frugal mindset, I should say, and they probably have a lot more money when it comes to purchasing those supplements. But I wanted to give as I was saying earlier when I talked to Roman after the last episode, is what kind of is like the best-selling / most supplements that we're seeing in today's world, a little description, and then kind of our take on this. You're going to see two different mindsets on this, which is a really good thing to see because it opens you up to both sides of the world, and we're not going to be pro or against just one way. So that's Roman was mentioning before this too, as we were talking and getting prepared for this. His mindset is going to be a lot different than mine or his opinion. But you got to always look at both sides, and this is why I like having like Roman by my side, because a lot of the stuff is different between us, and obviously in today's world, a lot of people think differently no matter what. So the quick rundown, when I said best-selling supplements, I went to myprotein.us. This is where the sweatshirt I'm wearing today, didn't do that on purpose. I do purchase a good amount of stuff because they have more affordable supplements, vitamins, clothing. I'm not sponsored by them. They don't pay me, so check them out. If you're in the U.S. side, it's myprotein.us. I think they started off in the U.K., so I think myprotein.uk is probably a big one. But then again, I doubt anyone from out of the U.S. is watching currently because we're not that big of a podcast yet. But I did scroll, and, like I mentioned in the last episode, supplements were a big thing to me when I was younger, starting off working out. But like I was saying in the last episode, I don't know how I spent so much money on supplements when I barely had a good job, like, with college and working at Best Buy, like part-time. Like, I don't even know how, like, if you look at my Instagram pictures, like, from back in the day, I would just brag on how many supplements I had. So I wanted to go ahead and kind of discuss what currently I'm seeing and we're seeing when it comes to, like, best-selling supplements. Briefly explain what they are. What I mentioned in the last episode as well, if you currently are seeking a new product or information, what I suggest is examine.com. We brought that website up. It's a website with scientists that are paid daily to do research studies. There's a plus version, but you could probably get most of your information on the free version. Literally just type in what you're looking at. It'll tell you what it is exactly, as well as what the dosages they're seeing by, like, either the American Heart Association, FDA standards, all that good stuff that you'll make it easy and simple. So check them out if you have any other questions or if you want to look at any other supplements as well, because there's a lot of info out there that you can potentially miss out or you can learn as well. So what I want to run down, obviously, some things that I want to talk about. Here's a list what I've seen on my protein, at least when it comes to best-selling supplements, is whey protein, creatine, omega-3s / like fish oil, EPA, all that good stuff. I'll just categorize as one, as well as BCAA powder, casein protein. Is it casein?
Casein, I think.
Casein protein, as well as melatonin and pre-workout. So I just want to do like a quick, brief intro of these and kind of discuss them, and kind of my take on them. Roman's going to probably do the BCAAs, because I still feel to this day that he knows a little bit more when it comes to that, as well as some of his take on melatonin that we talked about earlier. But yeah, simply whey protein, standard whey protein powder derived from whey. There's pea protein and rice protein that we talked about before. The difference is they don't use animal products, and typically, I don't know for sure, because rice pea protein might have traces of animal product, or no? Is that officially no?
I don't know.
Because when the whole point was to take the animal out.
Yeah, it's probably dependent on the manufacturer and whatever their like claims are. So if they're like a vegan or vegetarian brand,
yeah, you're probably good.
You're probably good there, as long as they don't have any type of like negative or bad PR out there. So I'd say with rice and pea, you're probably fine. Like that kind of a blend. If you're a vegetarian or vegan listener, but definitely do a little bit of research on it if that's something that is like very meaningful to you. That's a great question. I don't know,
because I just thought of that right now. I totally forgot. Like, I'm like, hey, well, I know it's a rice base or a pea base protein, but like, what if like maybe they wanted to mix the ratios up? Because I'm not familiar as much, so maybe that's one thing to look at after this. Is that something like, hey, if you're vegan or vegetarian, maybe look into the ingredients just in case.
Yeah,
I would say
manufacturing processes are like the area where you could have like a little bit of cross contamination possibly, and then also like based off of like filtration. Like I think some manufacturers will still use like various animal organs for like filtration. So I would say that it's definitely something that if it's meaningful to you, to do a little bit of research and find that out.
Yeah, and so
Great
like,
question, huh?
yeah, whey protein's been around forever. That's probably one of the day one products that's been out. The only thing is, I would say check your brands. What I've I don't know if I don't think I've talked about it on here, but when I've talked to Roman, a lot of protein brands and whatnot do mess up my digestion when it comes to like just drinking them. I don't know what it is. Maybe because what we've talked about and what we've learned before is a lot of people can't or don't digest like like dairy products as well as much as anymore. I haven't researched about it as much, but I've heard, since you get out of the stages, sometimes the dairy dairy bacteria, you just don't digest it as well when you get older. I think it's simply because the fact that, like, once I got out of high school, I stopped actually drinking milk is not that much. I started moving on to like almond milk. Roman can't drink almond milk. That would probably kill him. He has a peanut allergy. But like, I don't know if it's because like maybe dieting is a little bit easier on almond milk because of the macros are a little bit better. But ever since I've bought some whey proteins, I can't really digest as well. I usually cook my protein in like protein waffles. Let me know if you want that recipe. It's a really easy recipe, but for some reason cooking protein powder makes it a little bit digestible. And some brands, obviously, I think the standard of protein is a little bit better when it comes to different brands. Also check that too, because a lot of cheaper brands, I've noticed drinking protein since like 16 years old and eating it. Check the quality before purchasing it. I know it's kind of expensive, but my take on whey protein is if you can't or don't see yourself eating enough animal products to make that, or pea protein or rice protein, if you're not seeing yourself hitting those numbers, the numbers that Roman suggested in the last podcast, when it comes to resistance training, I think this is a very good supplement to have. I know Roman, I'll let him talk about that later, but Roman even has whey protein. I have whey protein at home. I don't usually digest as much or use it as much because of the fact that I try to consume most of my protein via, beans and animal meat itself because I always think that quality is a little bit better when it comes to actual food sources. So the next one is creatine. This definition is from examine.com. So creatine is a supplement that is a molecule that is produced in the body from amino acids. Like Roman was saying in the last one, proteins, animal meats have the amino acids. It's primarily made in the liver and to a lesser extent to the kidneys and pancreas. It stores that high energy phosphate groups in the form of phosphocreatine, which is donated to ATP, regenerating to ATP. Did I say that? ADP to ATP. Primary energy carrier in the body. The role as energy production is particularly relevant under conditions of high energy demand, such as intense physical or mental activity. So as you can tell by the definition, creatine is a big proponent when it comes to training, but a lot of the times, like, you have to physically train to get that benefit. You can't, no one's going to suggest you to drink creatine and tomorrow you wake up looking like Arnold. That's not going to happen. Because I wish I did, because I've been supplementing creatine probably for about like 4 or 5 years now. And you definitely need to push that physical training to get the benefits of creatine. Honestly, there is a lot of creatine mixtures and I guess different types of creatine. What I suggest and what a lot of people suggest is just creatine monohydrate. As well as if you guys don't listen to the Iron Culture, we've mentioned it before, Eric Helms and Omar Isov, they had Dr. Darren Kandel on there. He's a Canadian doctor that has researched creatine pretty much, since he's started. He's fascinated by it. He does mention in there the normal 5 grams per day isn't all like fully determined. It's a good standpoint, but see, the thing is, what is that 5 grams looking at? A lot of people will dictate with dosages via weight, as well as, obviously Roman weighs around 160, and I weigh, the 190, 192. So depending on how much you weigh too, that could affect it. So typically right now, what I use is 5 grams daily. If I do train, I will throw in like 2 or 3 grams after training. Honestly, in my opinion, I always suggest to take it whenever, but there has been studies been shown after listening to that. I didn't realize how much studies were there. The effect is a little bit greater when it comes to before and after training, specifically after training. So another thing too is, another myth is creatine will have you hold water weight. What Dr. Kandel did say is if you do hold water weight the first time using creatine, it's a good sign. It's a good sign because your body is holding on. It will just hold on to the water weight for a couple of days. After that, it should go away. Yeah. So if you're seeing that, if you're hearing that, it's probably one of the biggest myths. Also, just want to let you know, I didn't ever cycle off creatine during my 2 bodybuilding shows in 2016. You could go ahead and see the pictures. I don't think I was holding water at all. The only thing that you would probably see is that, the only thing between shows is I ate a bunch of cupcakes probably both times. So, if anything, it's probably the cupcakes and the sugary carbohydrates because of how much I did not eat any carbohydrates during those preps of those shows. So, in my opinion, I think this is a great, cheap supplement that you can get over, whenever you can. Also, creatine monohydrate, it probably will spend you only $25 to $30, getting unflavored creatine once a year, because I only purchase it probably once a year, like I said, $25 to $30 if you're doing 5 grams a day. So that's just a general description on creatine. We could probably talk a lot more on that one. Also, creatine, I probably should mention, is, Roman will probably say with some of this stuff afterwards, is it's derived from animal meat as well. So a lot of the times you're probably eating it throughout the day. I still think you probably need a little bit more, but Roman will showcase on that point later on. Omega-3s and fish oil was the next one. I do want to briefly go over that. I think fish oil is probably one of the other biggest ones that you see, even people who don't train. My parents both take it. I think fish oil is a really good source of supplement, but you could probably get a lot of those, vitamin side / those oils from actual live fish. So brief description on this one. Fish oil is a common term used, referred by 2 kinds of omega-3 fatty acids, EPAs and DHAs. These omega-3 fats are usually found in fish, animal products, and phytoplankton. The fatty acids EPA and DHA are involved in regulating various biological processes such as inflammatory response, various metabolic signaling pathways, and brain function. So as Roman mentioned in the explaining macronutrients, fat is an essential part of brain activity / hormone function. So I think this is a great supplement to purchase, but if you do consistently eat a fatty fish once or twice a week, a lot of doctors will promote this, and a lot of nutritionists, dietetics, once or twice a week, you can get away with getting enough fish oil in your actual daily intake. But if you don't, or if you lack a lot of fish, I think, what would you say, salmon's probably the biggest one when it comes to like getting the EPA and DHA levels adequate, to supply a healthy living. There was science on examine.com that it does lower depression, cognitive function. So those are all benefits for you. You do want to stay away. I think you said, stay away maybe from, translucent bottles, because they're not manufactured as well.
Yeah, there's something to do with the oxidative effect of fish oil pills. So I've heard that if you're looking for a fish oil supplement, because you don't have access to readily available fish, or the quality isn't where you want it to be, or you might just not like fish, but you think that the benefits of fish oil are worth delving into for various health reasons, as Antoine just alluded to. You're gonna want to most likely look for a darker bottle, or a bottle that either minimizes or significantly reduces the amount of UV rays that get into it, because that can have an oxidative effect to the fish oil pills, and some people report it making the pills seem rancid, I guess.
Yeah. Or, as I say, if a lot of sunlight hits them, that's probably, you're going to enter you're going to have a bad time with that.
I don't imagine somebody, just keeping their supplements, on the windowsill, though.
Don't leave your supplements out on the windowsill. That's probably a bad one. So the next one, since we want to get to the pros and cons, I definitely want to briefly get over this. Casein protein, as I mentioned earlier, it's pretty much just the slow digesting side of protein. Most of the time, it is suggested for nighttime use, as well as if you do fast during the day or can't get a lot of protein during the day, it would be early in the morning or during lunchtime. If you do have a long period of time, depending on your work schedule, remember how we said in the last one, if you're working night shifts, day shifts, depending on what you're at, I would say probably the best time to eat this, or digest it, I should say, is before bedtime or, like I said, in the morning. Another, I guess, food that could kind of be used is cottage cheese too. I used to be a big proponent of cottage cheese. I used to eat a bunch of it before bed all the time. That has a lot of trace of casein protein. So definitely try that out if you do like cottage cheese. If you get the salted one or sprinkle a little cinnamon on it.
Fruit now.
Yeah, you do
One's
fruit.
like pineapple.
Yeah,
Really
honestly, do that. Anything that makes it worthwhile. The next one, PreWorkout. One of the biggest, probably, I guess, money bag company is PreWorkout for sure. PreWorkout is a simple powder that has ingredients that will help build you up before a workout, meaning energy. You can't really detail the supplement because so many people do it so differently. I don't want to go into details, but it's typically have like creatine, caffeine, beta-alanine, citrulline malate, all that good stuff in those. Right now, also too, there could be a lot of fillers. So make sure when you're buying pre-workout, make sure it's a lot of the ingredients that you like in the dosages. In my opinion, I've recently been making my own pre-workout. So what I do is I mix all like the made ingredients. I'll mess with the dosages to see how I'm feeling, or take away some, because sometimes I don't need 400 milligrams of caffeine, just maybe do 100 or 200. So, I usually make my own pre-workout. Let me know if you guys want to see how I make my pre-workout. I think I might have done something in the past on my YouTube channel, but I'm not 100% sure if I really showed it off as much. So we're going to probably finish off with that. Do you want to go over melatonin? I don't know if we're going to have time to talk too much about it, but let's go. If you want to talk about BCAAs, powder, and how they could be effective, as well as normal BCAAs and how we get them in a normal day, as well as let's go into what's your thoughts on supplements and what you do on a daily basis. Let's do that, yeah.
So BCAAs stands for branched chain amino acids. They've been popularized by fitness companies, different supplement manufacturers, as helping you with recovery purposes as well as building muscle. And the reason that they manufacturers will push the idea that it's ideal for building muscle is that it contains three amino acids, mainly three amino acids, leucine, isoleucine, and valine. Leucine is usually targeted as being the amino acid that's most responsible for initiating this pathway that allows your body to signal to essentially start building muscle. So it was perceived by the fitness industry for the longest time that BCAAs were this little known secret in the fitness industry that was getting people jacked. Probably not the case, because our bodies, for whatever reason, don't seem to identify the individualized chains or amino acids as they would if they came in a whole protein source. That way our body's machinery, its biological machinery, can dictate based off of the needs of the time to essentially unfold the protein however it needs to, and then essentially disseminate that how it needs to. So it seems that from a hypertrophy standpoint, you're probably better off going with a whey protein or a whole source protein. But there are a lot of proponents of BCAAs still, even though they say great for muscle hypertrophy. The recovery aspect may be very pertinent. the combination of leucine, isoleucine, and valine seem to be very potent when it comes to recovery, helping to speed up the recovery process for individuals, especially individuals. Possibly an even more useful use case would be if you're dieting down. So if you're dieting down for a bodybuilding show, it may be worthwhile if you have some extra cash to spend to get some BCAAs and just take like the general recommendation that whatever manufacturer you end up going with, and seeing if that helps speed up your recovery, because in that instance, that's when you're going to be most drained, that's when you're going to have the lowest energy levels. So any little advantage that you can squeeze out of your training and your recovery process, which would then allow you to train harder, more, and maintain most of that or as much muscle tissue as possible, because that's the goal of dieting down, is essentially don't lose as much muscle tissue as like the dieting process will incur, which will happen unfortunately. But yeah, your goal is to essentially minimize that. I don't know what food sources you could get it from, because my understanding of BCAAs
they had a short list, but this is off examine.com again. So this would be like lean. They said lean meat, fish, milk, tofu, cheese, eggs, quinoa.
I think that's just because that those sources have more of like a complete amino acid profile.
Yeah.
So
I think I guess that's what it was going for. I guess. Yeah.
So it has like a similar effect. I would say that's probably more beneficial from a hypertrophy standpoint. So building muscle, building additional tissue to your body. If you're into bodybuilding or even powerlifting, adding additional muscle is, just like the general public could benefit from adding muscle. So
Roman takes vegan BCAAs as well. We didn't really mention that, but we were researching stuff that I don't even know if it's true or not.
Yeah, we couldn't verify it, unfortunately.
Please someone verify if vegan BCAAs are a thing, as well as what the heck's the difference and how do they derive those BCAAs as well, because that would be interesting to know.
Yep.
So yeah,
I would say,
after all this talking, what is your take on supplements? Do you use them? If you do, why? If you don't, why?
Yeah.
As well as what can you kind of like sum up on what the reasoning is behind it?
Yeah. I'm not a big supplement fan, to be honest.
Damn.
With you all.
Look at that. He just threw all that down. He just said, you guys are wasting your money.
I'm not saying that people are wasting their money, but for me, it is a waste of my money, because
introducing Roman's vegan BCAAs coming out now for $59.99, 20 servings.
And then Polakai Green put out like this is like a steak BCAA. Like,
oh yeah, you remember that?
Yeah.
Carnivore protein. Yeah. Wow, that hit me in the memories.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm pretty sure one of my good friends bought that.
Nice.
It kind of tastes funky, I'm not gonna lie. It was like it tasted like I was drinking a chocolate beef shake.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
But go on.
Anyways,
wow, that's great. That's
great. By their very nature, supplements are meant to be supplementary, or like in addition to a diet that's lacking in those. So
it's in the word.
Yeah. So, like from a very young age, I just kind of looked at that and it's like, why would I do that if that's something that's like aside from or not like part of the whole. So they never really made sense, and like the more I learned about them, it was like, well, fish oil, why don't you just eat like more fish, or just eat fish, or like have avocado, or like eat some seeds, like buy like a pack of seeds, or like something along those lines. So I for the longest time I was always just kind of perplexed at them, and the more I learn about supplementation as well, the more I learn how much it falls short of the actual whole food source. So like even whey protein, for example, there are so many different like manufacturing processes, and just the heating of the protein itself, so that you can get this like fine powder. It potentially denatures some of the protein, so that the uptake of them is at a reduced rate if you were to take a similar amount of the whole food source. So I don't have any like literature to cite on this, but I would be very confident in saying that like a 30-gram whey protein shake, which is just like water and like whey protein, compared to like 30 grams of, let's say,
Poultry,
Greek yogurt, and something along those lines, would have a significantly decreased effect on hypertrophy, a significant decreased effect, the supplement compared to the whole food source. And that's just...
And also on a side note too, none of these supplements need to go through regulation, most of them.
Yeah.
So like, a lot of the times, a lot of companies got caught for spiking protein and using BCAAs as the grams of protein and not actually grams of protein. And I'm doing the quotation marks because it's probably false, because a lot of the times, as Mark Lobeiner once said, a lot of these tests, like some of them cost like $10,000 just to test your protein. So who's going to honestly do that to someone else's protein?
Yeah.
Like, imagine, let me drop $10,000 to test this person's protein to throw them off the market.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So there are definitely some like legislative reasons as well. Like Antoine mentioned, the food labeling it's pretty atrocious. It can be like anywhere from like 10 to 30+% off.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to get like pretty exact, you're gonna be screwed in that regard. Whereas like a piece of steak, 5-ounce piece of steak, depending on like the marbling of it, you can guesstimate at it pretty well. Like you're not gonna be exact, but that is beside the point. Whereas if you're 10 to 30% off, it's like much worse than being like 5 or 10% off. So there's definitely a discrepancy there. It's just extra money. It's another thing to worry about. So I was a sickly child. I had to take like a lot of medication growing up, and it was like just one additional thing to worry about. So when I was finally able to get healthy and I like discovered like health, fitness, nutrition, all these different things, and I was able to use that to my benefit, I never wanted to get to the point, and I hope I never do end up getting back to the point where I have to like have a concoction of pills. And like I if that's something that like helps you along in your day-to-day, and like you feel energized, you feel better from it, like even like your blood levels, like your doctor reports that it's getting better, like don't stop taking them because you listen to this podcast.
Yeah.
Keep on doing what you're doing. But if you're looking for a reason to take supplements, I would say before you start that, talk to your doctor, but also just look at your diet first. Start to do some research on nutrition. Look up some of the resources that we provide on this channel. Hopefully we can be a helpful resource. I don't know it all. I don't claim to be a nutrition expert. I know a thing or two about a thing or two, and we're trying to help you at least point you in the right direction. But for me to like have to worry about taking just like one other thing, it never made too much sense. So I've always tried to just make sure I have a pretty healthy diet that also is well in line with like what my lifestyle is. And I've messed it up like pretty significantly. I've tried vegetarian diet, I've tried a vegan diet, and like I just tanked, man. Like I lost a lot of muscle tissue, I lost a lot of weight. I wasn't doing it right at all. I was super duper active. I continually am learning. I'm learning more and more every single day. So that's part of life, is that journey, learning, growing, etc. But I would say that like from my perspective, I think most supplements are not worth it. Definitely, whatever your doctor says, do what your doctor says if you have a certain deficiency. But if you don't have a deficiency, I think it's more optimal, or it's better to try and get it from your diet.
Yeah, and plus Roman also doesn't want to stray away from the daily remembrance of supplements, because he does take steroids, and that's already a lot. He's HGH at 12 p.m., testosterone at 5 p.m., and then some synthol oil before bed. A lot of these things are really hard for Roman to remember. So guys, just give him a break. I'm just kidding. None of that's real. Roman doesn't do any of that. But, yep, I mean, I just to sum it up, to finish this off, I mean, I'm like the same way with Roman. The only thing to suggest is it's the ease and convenience for some of these things. I mean, I still think like PreWorkout's a really good supplement, no matter what. But I mean, in protein powder, I think and creatine, that's probably my top 3 that I efficiently, consistently take all the time. And
caffeine seems to be a big one too.
But see, the thing is, you could probably get the same benefits of just taking a caffeine pill before the gym, or a cup of coffee, whatever is easiest to you. I work hard for my money, and I wish I could have told myself from back in the day to like research first and do probably nothing first compared to something. Well, at least just get my butt in the gym. But that's what I have to sum up. I would just say do your research. Roman said suggest going to see a doctor, get that blood work done, see if you are even deficient, look at your diet, and all that good stuff. Remember, kids, don't do steroids. I'm just kidding. Well, thanks for tuning in, guys. That's another episode down on supplementation. Thanks for listening. Do us a favor. Always like, comment, subscribe. Follow us on anything. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Buzzsprout, Apple Podcasts, everything. So thanks again, guys. Hope you guys have a good holiday season. Great New Year, like I said before. And we'll see you next year. Wow.
2020.
Peace.